Welcome to the Arms Room 15 podcast, everybody. I am Josh. This is Devin. We are just regular guys that like the 2A. What can I say?
What can you say?
I'm Dr. Seuss, apparently.
Weird.
Weird. So today's topic we're going to talk about... I just splashed coffee everywhere. Today, we're going to talk about gun control. More specifically, right now, it is 5:31. I don't know how we could have done that any better. So right now, today, June 13th at 5:31, they are looking at a bill to stop the pistol brace rule. Not law, rule. So today I figured it would be appropriate. Let's talk about gun control. Let's talk about other states. Let's talk about the benefits or the lack thereof. And yeah, let's get into it. So, what are your thoughts? And immediately, like, what's the when you hear gun control, first thing?
I throw up a little bit in my
You
mouth.
throw up a little.
Yeah. So here's the thing: gun control is never about controlling the guns. It's always about controlling the people. So, and it's basically gun control flies in the face of the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Um.
Of our forefathers.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me, founding fathers.
We're both.
I didn't have forefathers.
Nah. It's like this guy. He's a comedian.
I'm a poet, and I didn't even know it.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
Stinking dad joke central over here.
I am tired. I worked outside all day today, so I told my roommate, I'm like, I am wired for some reason right now. I don't know why.
He's delirious.
I'm delusional. All right, so here's my thought when I hear gun control, and it's basically the same thing you said. When I hear gun control, the very first thing that pops in my mind is controlling the people, not the guns. Again, like you said, but I say it a little bit different. Anytime someone asks me, I always tell them, gun control is never about guns. It's always about control. They don't care. I mean, look at previous countries that have enacted gun control. Like, I'll use Venezuela, Germany. You know, those countries that enacted gun control took the firearms or whatever away from their citizens. And then out of nowhere, like, okay, we know what happened with Germany. They took over the whole... Well, I was going to say their country, but they took over a lot of other people's countries as well.
Interesting thing about Germany, a lot of people, they like to use that, right? Ironically, they actually expanded gun freedoms, I guess, to their regular citizenry.
Yeah.
Because they were about to go to war and they wanted their citizens to help defend the country.
Huh.
However, the ones that they did control were they got the guns out of the hands of Jews and anyone they considered unacceptable, undesirable.
Sounds familiar.
Right, but the undesirables, so mainly Jews, kind of people with Down syndrome, homosexuals, just anyone, right? Anybody that they considered undesirable, they forbade to have firearms, and then they confiscated them. And that was years before the actual Holocaust started.
Yeah.
That was at least, I think, 5 years before the Holocaust actually began. The people don't realize that even though they were being persecuted, the actual Holocaust didn't begin until close to around or right after the war actually started.
So how many years was that when they started to take the gun control away from the undesirables till?
It'd be mid-30s. I don't know the exact date. The mid-30s, 1930s was when they started doing all that. That's when they started forcing Jews to wear markings that showed that they were Jews, or mark their or they would get their businesses marked and all that stuff. Is right around that same time.
And then the war started in 40 or 41?
Well, for them it started in 39.
39, that's right. For us, it started in 41.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always get my numbers mixed up when that happened.
You know, December 7th,
1941.
1941.
Yeah.
A day which will live in infamy.
Yep. All right. So I did not know that. So I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. But and obviously we're going off of things that we've heard, right? He knows a little bit more. He's studied some stuff. I'm going off of what the typical guy has heard. So if I say some things that are wrong, that's why I got him here. He is my life. Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa. I'm at
I didn't know you would thought of me like that. I'm going to tell Stephanie.
Oh my gosh, our wives are going to watch this. It's going to be horrible.
My wife would just
You
laugh.
are my live fact checker, is what I meant to say. Thank you. And then Venezuela, they enacted gun control, took it away from their citizens, and then what did they do with their dollar that just absolutely tanked their economy? Was it like mass production of their currency,
It
or
was something else? That actually I'm not as familiar with.
Okay.
Economics is not my strong point, so
yeah,
I would actually have to research that.
okay. Either way,
I do remember when it was going down, when it was like just everything was beach,
yeah,
and it was costing literally stacks of money to buy a loaf of bread.
Ugh.
Like they would literally show a loaf of bread right next to how much it cost, and it was like this table that high of just money.
Oh,
It was terrible.
oh, I think I would just. I don't know. I'd get a fishing pole and just live off fish for the rest of my life.
If you remember these days, that's an interesting idea. What if we had suddenly gun control happened, right? Let's just say hypothetically, a certain party can snap their fingers, and poof, all our guns are gone.
You mean like they just did in Canada?
Kind of.
That happened.
I'm talking like Thanos snap, just poof,
Yeah.
gone. How would you? Because remember, everything's being regulated, right?
Yeah.
Fishing is being regulated. Hunting is regulated.
Yeah, but
You can't.
they're regulating the tools of hunting.
No. You can't go out and just hunt without license.
Well, I can tell you right now, if we're being real, I don't care about fishing licenses. I don't care about hunting licenses. If they're gonna take all my rights away, guess what? I'm gonna feed mine. I'm gonna feed my family.
It's like, so what do you do when they kick down your door? All the guns are gone.
Yeah,
What you gotta do?
I got nothing.
Exactly right.
I just tell them, hey, I'm trying to feed my family.
The government don't care what you say, which is why the Second Amendment is so important.
Again, exactly right. So, I brought up all the countries to say, kind of like that, like that's kind of what a lot of people are saying, that's the direction that we're going. I don't think we are, because we still have the Second Amendment right as of now.
As of right now, yeah.
This could be watched in like 20 years from now and they'd be like, oh wow, they were dead wrong.
Right. So
I hope I'm wrong, but I'm just saying they're doing all of this to in the name of safety is a big reason. We need more gun safety. We need more they want less shootings, which I want less shootings. Don't get me wrong. I want less shootings. I don't want the things that are happening in our world to happen. It's not like something like that happens and I'm like, oh yay, cool. No, like I'm not a weirdo. I'm a normal person. Like I don't want that stuff to happen. That being said, taking the guns away from everybody is not going to be the way to do that. Because if you take the guns away from all the good people,
like only the bad people will have it.
only the bad people will have them. And guess what?
And that's
Everybody becomes easy pickings at that point.
And unfortunately, that's something that people like to the anti-gun group will like to ignore
Mm-hmm.
the idea that yes, we might not be able to get guns, but the people who would use guns wrongly anyway will still have them because they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care that. I mean, you just showed me a video of someone who literally stole a gun off of a person.
Oh yeah, I sent you that video. Yeah.
So
And it was an opportunistic crime.
right. It's opportunity.
He was standing behind her at the counter at a convenience store, and she had it open carried on her 6 o'clock position. Which, if you're gonna open carry, dear God,
Yeah, the
appendix or strong side.
Yeah, the person. Well, the person who was carrying it clearly didn't. We will probably both agree, if you're gonna get a gun, get some level of training.
Oh, 1,000%.
It's like it's
1,000%.
not. It's and a lot of people are like, oh, well, you shouldn't be mandating this. It's, no, we're not mandating it.
No,
You as a gun owner
should want
have
to
the
do that.
responsibility
Right.
to understand what needs to happen when you're especially if you want to open carry.
Mm.
Because that's another layer of responsibility. Like me, I had what was it? It said I had a level 2
Mm-hmm.
holster, which means you had to push a button, otherwise it ain't coming out.
Well, isn't level 2 means there's 2 different actions that have to happen simultaneously for that to come out?
Yeah, so you would have to hold it and push the button at the same time
Yeah.
to get it out. Level 3 is you have have the button and a little flap that goes over it.
Right.
So you have to unflip, pull it, push the button and pull it.
Yeah. So you'd
and
have to
then
do 3
level
different
1,
actions.
and then level 1 is just pulling it.
Right. And a lot of people they don't get those holsters. You know what they get? The Uncle Mike's little bloop,
Right.
little cotton sheath,
Right.
you know, which isn't I mean if you fell off your bicycle, shout out to Biden. If you fell off your bicycle, you know, and
No,
you
I hope he's okay.
you were carrying that gun, if you fell off your bicycle, that thing's just going to go flopping around.
Right.
If you, especially now, Kydex is a little bit better. I would say that's like a 0.5 retention holster because it's not a level 1. It's well, it would be considered a level 1.
It'll be
Wouldn't it?
level 1.
Okay, so then let me say a
It's just
1.5.
It's just a little tighter. Some of them now there are versions where it's designed to it doesn't have a button, but you have to pull either pull it in or pull it out to the side
Yeah.
for it to come out. So it kind of retain.
I had a Kydex that you had to almost twist it a little bit first to get it out because it was so tight that you'd have to open it up a little bit and then pull.
Right.
And that's the one that I carried when I did armed security, when I carried openly on my strong side position. But I also practiced clamping down and dropping down in case somebody grabbed a hold of my gun.
Right.
You know, first off, situational awareness. Know what's around you and who's around you at all times. If there's somebody standing super close behind you, step out of the way. Go, if you're going off the video that I sent you, if you're standing in a convenience store and somebody's behind you and it just don't feel right, or walk down another aisle, go pick something else up, a little 99-cent Debbie cake or something. Even if you're not gonna, take it for yourself, you're like, oh, sugar or cake or unhealthy foods. I'm fighting that battle right now currently. But if you're not gonna take it for yourself, then just go get it. It's $1. It gets you out of that person's sight. It gets your little. Listen to your spidey senses, people. That's all I'm saying. Situational awareness.
I'll tell you right now that person did not have a spidey sense. They were oblivious.
I mean,
and
I don't know if she just thought, I've got a gun on me, nobody's gonna mess with me type thing.
Or she didn't even realize it was. She might not have actually purposely been open carrying.
You think maybe it came out a little bit?
Yeah, maybe it was just because she had baggy clothes.
Yeah, it looked like it.
Which
Yeah.
means she was probably originally concealed. She probably bent down to pick something up. Anyway, right there. Why again? Like you were pointing out, why it was at the 6 o'clock? I don't know.
I've known people that have carried 6 o'clock, and I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm sorry. Just sitting down when you've got it on your 6 o'clock, it's like you gotta sit kind of weird, or it just doesn't feel right. If you have it strong side, typically I'm between 2 and 3 o'clock.
Right.
Depending on where my comfortability level is, if it's printing too much, I'll mess with it. But it's always on my strong side, pretty much.
I've actually been really into pocket pistols these days.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, just because I'm a smaller frame and holsters really just.
So what do you get, like those sticky holsters that go inside the pocket? So if you pull it, the holster stays.
Well, let's just tell you right now. Did you know I was carrying right now?
I did not, but I can see it now that you said something. Now that you said something, I look down and I'm like, oh, hey, look at that. So pocket carry is where you're at right now.
Well, right now, until I can lose weight and start carrying a regular. Because
Okay.
right now it's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But pocket pistols, it's not quite the caliber I would want.
Yeah.
But it's better than nothing. So, and the cool thing about these pants is I actually have a built-in holster, or excuse me, a built-in mag pouch, essentially.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And this one I can actually carry my 45 mag.
Okay.
So it can go 45, at least 45 caliber for my shield. So it works, and I don't have to carry anything. I don't have to carry or have anything extra. Like I don't have to have an extra mag pouch. I don't have, because I'm going to carry an extra mag, right? Already have it. Doesn't look like any different than anything. It's not messing with my shirt line.
Right.
So that's why I like these kind of just 511 type pants up there, so I can put anything on there.
Let's go back to, you brought up that situation with that lady getting her gun taken from her. So where were you going with that?
What were we talking about originally?
Gun control.
Gun control, but I was talking about just people will find a bad guy will find any way to get a firearm, either if it's off of a good person trying to protect themselves.
And the kid looked young too.
Yeah, albeit the person was clearly not trained. At least it doesn't take much training.
No.
So, which means she just went, it's 100% her right to go down and get a firearm to protect herself.
Oh, 100%.
We're not dogging on her for having the firearm in the first place.
No, not at all.
We're not even dogging on her.
Have two. Right. Have one in your pocket. Like this guy.
It's like so that's not where we're going with that. We're going with she should have had if she's gonna have the responsibility to carry, she should also give herself the responsibility to train. But anyway, the point of the whole thing was that criminals don't care. Mm-hmm. If he cared about the because that was theft. That was strong arm theft.
Yeah.
Because he grabbed her and forced her down and all that.
Absolutely.
So he committed assault and everything.
Right.
So he committed at least minimum 3 crimes in one go.
Right.
So you're not gonna. So that the fact of that. If he already has a firearm, let's say he just had a firearm, it's someone like that, do you think that person would actually care if a law gets brought up saying, hey, you shouldn't have a gun? No. Because you know why? Because he didn't care about assault battery, he didn't care about theft, he didn't care about strong arm robbery, any of that.
Yeah.
He didn't care about any of that. So if someone's willing to break 3 laws to get your gun, he's okay with breaking 1 law to keep his gun.
For sure. So I'm thinking we just outlaw the guns because nobody has drugs now, right? They've outlawed cocaine and crack and.
Oh yeah.
Nobody has that.
Oh yeah, the cartels are just they're
bored.
They're bored. They don't know what to do with themselves anymore.
It's tongue in cheek, but you get our point, right? Like the laws are not going to change anything because the people who don't follow laws are the ones that are causing all the issues. So, and the crazy part about it is law-abiding citizens are the ones who end up following those laws. Why? Do you want to go to jail for 10 years? I don't. I for sure don't. It's like So who's going to follow the laws? The ones who typically follow the laws and don't break laws and don't shoot at people for no reason. You know, it's
Yeah,
it's insane.
it's not the law-abiding citizens going around doing drive-bys.
No,
It's not law-abiding citizens kicking down doors and doing school shootings. It's
Right.
not. Those are the criminals doing it. If they weren't criminals, they wouldn't have done it.
I would say criminals and those who are suffering with mental illness. And I want to bring this up because mental illness is a serious thing. It's not something that either one of us take lightly. But if you're having a problem, I think we've said this on another podcast before, but if you're having a problem, go to somebody you trust. Like if I had an issue, I know I could go to Devin and be like, hey man, look, I'm having these thoughts. I'm kind of feeling a little crazy. Could you take my guns for a little bit? Now he might be like, hey, I'm gonna need your safe with that, but I feel like he would do that, and I wouldn't have to worry. Oh, he's going to the gun show next week, and I wonder which gun of mine he's gonna sell. No.
Although, to caveat on that,
Yeah.
it's typically not people who already own guns that are doing the shootings,
Right.
who also have the mental issues. By the time they want to do the bad thing,
They have to go out
they
and
go
buy
and
it.
get the gun
Yeah.
for the sole purpose of doing that.
Right.
But here's the now. Again, they're 100% in their right to go pick it up. They're not in their right for what they're going to use it for.
Right.
So now this comes down to that gun control side.
Mm-hmm.
The other side will say, hey, that's the reason we need to do red flag laws. We need to do all these other things, right?
Which red flag laws, don't even get me started. They are completely unconstitutional.
Right.
At the very to be adjudicated guilty before you're even seen by a judge is absolute garbage.
Right. Now, what was I saying?
I'm sorry. You
No,
were
no, you're good.
you were talking about like the people that
Oh yeah. So the problem with the mental illness is that the people that they have in their circle are typically they're usually enablers. So it's not like us where if I come to you and I'm saying I'm doing this and you'll tell me, hey, you're wrong, you need to fix this, fix that, you'll help me through it.
Yeah.
The people in theirs, if they have people in their circle at all.
Yeah, because a lot of them seem to be
they're
loners.
Very loners, because they feel like they've been isolated.
Sure.
If they have someone in their circle, they're usually, hey, no, your feelings are okay, it's okay. Because they're very much that accept everybody as they are in a very literal sense, right? They don't want you to change because they think it's bad to change, right? They think, and for them, thinking growing means you're just accepting more of what's wrong with you versus how to fix what's wrong with you. Keep the good, leave the bad kind of thing, right?
Right.
What makes them usually isn't the thing that their mental illness is telling them is them. If that makes sense. I'm not going to go, I don't want to go, it's June, so I guess I'll bring it up. Sexuality.
Ooh, careful.
Yeah.
Careful. Tread lightly.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, when people struggle with that, right, with their sexuality, usually the people that they have in their circle that they're trying to seek for support for, encourage it in such a way that it almost becomes it goes so far into the wrong side of it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not trying to seek help. They're seeking affirmation, and the affirmation in of itself is hurting them.
Yeah.
So it puts them in an even worse place. Okay, because you got one side saying, "Hey, look, you need to get help. This is not healthy for you." The ones who are actually caring,
Right. Those are actually caring people.
telling you to help you. Hey, you need to go get help.
Right.
because they see that there's something they're struggling with an issue, right? They don't want to hear that because they've been told most of or all their life, just accept what you are, what you think. No, not even what you are. What you think you are. Give into your mental illness, not try to help it. Just give into it, and when you give into something bad stuff is going to happen.
Sure, but on the same token, like, they don't think it's a mental illness problem. Well, they think it's an identity problem.
That's what I'm saying. There's no one there telling them, "Hey, look, this is not your identity.
Right.
This is not who you are. You are this person."
Yeah.
Right. There's no one to bring them back to reality. I went to a convention, and I saw young people, like early teens, in the. You know what a furry is?
I had a feeling you were going there.
Yes.
Dear
God.
God.
It's not just the. I like. That kind of anthropomorphic. I can't even say it.
I know where you're going with
it. It was the sexual side of that.
Yeah.
And their parents were encouraging it. They were there taking pictures with them or taking pictures of them. And it was just like, dude. One, they're not old enough. They're not old enough for that. Two, no one else sees a problem with this.
Right. And so I think there's more people that see problems with stuff like that, but people are afraid to speak up for this reason right here. I'm recording you. Everything you're saying is going online right now. And you're a bigot. You're this. You're that. A sexist. Fill in the blank. You're transphobic. You're this phobic. You're that phobic. And listen, be who you want to be. It does not affect my life. It does not. But don't shove your dumb ideology down other people's throats. Now, I do not shove 2A down anybody's throats. If you're watching this, it's probably because you like the 2A. You are a fan of AR-15s, black rifles, scary rifles, whatever. You're a fan of those things. If you ask me about 2A, anything, I'll talk your ear off. But just know you open the door for that conversation. I will never open the door for a conversation about furries. Ever. Like, I don't care. That is childish and dumb. In my opinion. We're still allowed to have those. First Amendment, right?
First Amendment. Hey, just because we think it's weird,
somebody might think it's great.
The only thing I was having an issue was not that they were doing they were into being furries, is that they were
the age.
It was the age, and not even necessarily the age, but the age coupled with the sexuality portion.
Okay.
So that was what was really, because they were very obviously on that. Like one guy had he was in a furry suit and he was wearing a LGBT cape. Which,
like the flag, the flag colors.
And I don't care what you say, the LGBT,
the alphabet group. Not Google.
It's different alphabet groups. So, all of that is wrapped around sex.
Yeah.
So we need to, at some point, we need to be like, draw the line between what is sex and what is not sex, right? So,
right.
But all of that, coming back around.
I was about to say, we started at gun control and ended up somehow on furries and sex.
It's all related. It's like circle of life. I mean, the other side says this is very phallic. It's like compensating for something, right?
Nope, not going there. You said all of that full circle to say what?
That basically following line of the mental illness, right?
Mhm.
They're not getting the help they need
Right.
before
It becomes a
becomes
problem.
the part before they get to the point of I'm going to shoot up a whole bunch of people.
Right.
So there needs to be some. We need to remember, as a community, as Americans, instead of being like, well, you're LGBT. I don't care about you. I don't like you. Right? You need to talk to them. Be friends. Right?
Right.
Sometimes the best way to mitigate or destroy something bad happening is just to be somebody's friend.
Yeah. And I agree. Now, when I said, I kind of feel like I have to backpedal a little bit, because when I said I'm not going to ask you about furries, I'm not interested in that. None of that. But I agree with what you're saying. Like, doesn't mean I don't have to be someone's friend. Doesn't mean I don't have to, like, I know, like, there was young people in my previous youth group that were kind of into that a little bit. And I don't know if they are still, or if they were just dabbling their toe in it or what, but it was a phase, I'll say, because I asked them politely not to wear that stuff to church, not to, because I had kids that would literally wear, like, the tails to church. And it was quite weird.
I mean, that's not quite a furry level, but
Well, that's why I said I feel like they were
yeah,
dabbling.
some of that just is if you're a fan of anime.
Okay.
Sometimes you just like the cat ears.
Yeah,
like
that was another thing.
Yeah, those typically aren't. They're included in that community, but they don't. Just because someone's wearing that stuff doesn't mean they're into that side. They might just be into anime.
Right, and they were.
Anime.
And they were into anime for sure, but so
It's like
I'm
the
just
Japanese
saying, I
and cat
agree.
people. It's just very influential.
I guess. I agree. I feel like we need to have those conversations with somebody, and honestly, I feel like our whole world has just become a jerkish place, for lack of a better term. Like, people, like today, I was cruising down the highway a little excessively, okay? I'm not saying how much, because there is a little bit of a margin of error where some officers will not mess with you. I was in that margin of error. So I was doing the speed limit and a little bit more. This guy drove up behind me, and I mean absolutely was right behind me, almost clipped my bumper, come around the side of me, sped up and almost took my front bumper off, and as he went by, just looking at me like, just staring at me.
That
I'm like,
that actually reminds me on
what did I do?
dude, don't even feel bad because maybe a few months ago, I was on the 4.
Mm-hmm.
I was going everybody goes like 80 on that road.
Oh yeah.
I was-
Speed limit is like, depending on where you're at, anywhere from 70 to 60.
Right.
If you're doing 70 or 60, welcome to Florida. You're getting ran over.
Right. I was in the left lane, passing everybody,
Okay.
right? Going like 80, 85. Yes.
I wasn't even going to say how fast I was going. You are bold, sir.
That's because nobody cares. The cops think you're going slow if you're going 85 on the 4.
Okay.
Unless you're in the express.
Oh no, if you're in the express, they are absolutely going to tag you. Do not speed on I-4 in Orlando on the express. I promise you.
So you could just be on the other one, on the other side. It's more
Right.
dangerous. No, but but this guy came right, like, just like you, just came up, and I could see him in the mirror, and he's just raging and just telling me to get over on the other side. It's like, dude, how fast do you want me to go?
I'm doing 85.
I'm literally passing everybody on your right.
Right.
It's like, where are you? And then he got mad, and he came right up next to me and started yelling at me. My wife got mad at him and started trying to. I was like, why are you doing that? Why are you trying to give me problems? But anyway, it doesn't matter. But he came back and tried to brake check me, and I was like, man, dude, just so you know, I-4 is the max is 60.
No, depending on where you're at.
Well, in my area, it's 60.
Okay.
Between in the city limit, it's about 60.
Okay, that's fair.
Once you get past the city, I think it goes up to like 70
Mhm.
or whatever. But in the city, it's 60.
Like between where you're at and Daytona, it's like 70.
Well, between Sanford and like Universal, and
It's
it's
60.
60.
Yeah.
So
And they just changed that when they threw the express lanes in because it was not always 60. It was like, I want to say it was 70. And 408 is another one that's really
once
bad.
they started doing all the construction, they reduced all the speed limits.
No, that makes sense.
And now, and they just
They got to
didn't-
pay for all that construction
well,
somehow.
Then they just didn't change it after
Yeah.
the construction. But anyway, but yeah, that actually could have been a situation in which it could have ended up being firearm related.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, stuff like that does not need to happen. I mean, man, how much different would this place that we live in be if we would just smile at somebody or wave at somebody, like, and actually be nice? Like, okay, they're not going as fast as you want them to go. I am really preaching to the choir right now because I know my wife's gonna probably watch this and be like, you need to take your own advice. So I'm gonna take my own advice. If someone's in front of us going slow, let them go slow. Get around them when you can. Don't add to the jerkness of this world. Full circle. Let's go back to gun control. Because in big cities, like you just said, we've actually had incidences in Orlando that I have watched on my normal like YouTube algorithm that I watch.
Don't add to the
nothing but,
jerkness
like
of this
gun
world.
videos and funny videos.
Full circle.
Like
Let's
funny
go back to
videos,
gun control.
People getting hurt.
Because
or
in
like
big
the,
cities, like you
America's
just said,
Funniest Home
we've
Videos,
actually had
it's like stuff like
instances
that.
in
Or
Orlando
it's gun
that I have
videos.
watched on
I
my
watched the
normal
video and then watched
like YouTube
another
algorithm
guy
that I
break
watch
that
is
video
nothing
down,
but
one of the
like gun
guys that I
videos
watched, and I was
and
like, oh, yeah, I've
funny
seen that video,
videos,
and
like
he's
funny
telling me
videos,
it's in
people getting
Orlando.
hurt, or like the
Oh, no way.
America's Funniest
We
Home
have
Videos.
had
It's like stuff like
incidences,
that,
and in big
or
cities,
it's
you're gonna
gun
get
videos.
this,
I watched the
where
video and then watched
people have
another
road
guy
rage, pulled
break
out
that
their
video
guns,
down.
shot
One
at
of the guys
people.
that I
Like, there
watched,
was one,
and I was like, "Oh
the
yeah,
guy
I've seen
was
that
on one
video."
of our
And he's
toll
telling me
roads
it's in
and
Orlando.
doing the same
I'm
thing
like,
that you
"Oh,
just
no
described.
way."
Basically, like
We
he
have
had a
had
guy behind
incidences,
him
and in
being
big cities,
crazy,
you're
and
gonna
he
get
brake
this.
checked him.
Where
Which, by law,
people have road
you
rage,
are the
pulled out
aggressor
their
if
guns,
you're
and
brake
shot at
checking
people.
somebody.
Like there was
you
one.
started it.
The guy was
Okay.
on one of our toll roads
and he
and
brake checked the guy,
doing the
and
same
other
thing
guy
that you just
came
described.
around him,
Basically, like
and
he
I
had a
don't
guy
know, the guy
behind
said he
him being
flashed a
crazy,
pistol at
and he
him.
brake checked him.
I
Which,
don't think
by
so,
law,
but, like
You
see
are the
guy
aggressor
speed
if you're
up,
brake
and
checking
it's
somebody.
this own guy's
You
dash
started
camera.
it. Okay.
And you see him speed up, and
And
reaches
he
in the
brake
center
checked the
console
guy,
pulls
and
out
the
a
other guy
pistol.
came around
And
him.
he's got the guy
And
behind him
I
again,
don't
and he
know.
brake
The
checks
guy
him
said
again.
he flashed a pistol
Well, this
at
time
him.
the guy comes around him and
I don't
grabs
think
a
so.
water
But
bottle,
like
like a
you
full
see the
water
guy
bottle,
speed up, and
chucks
it's
it
this
out
own
of the
guy's
car
dash camera.
at the guy's
And you
window,
see him
and all you
speed up,
see
and
is
he
this
reaches
guy
in the
driving,
center
he's got
console and
the
pulls out a
on his
pistol.
lap.
And
when
he's got
car
the guy
comes up
behind
next
him
to
again,
you
and
see
he
him go
brake
like
checks
this
him
and
again.
flinch for a second, and he goes,
Well, this
boom,
time the
boom,
guy
boom,
comes
boom, boom,
around
boom,
him
starts
and grabs
throwing
a
shots
water
through his
bottle,
own
like a
car,
full
trying to
water
shoot
bottle,
that guy.
and chucks it
And
out
then
of
called
the
the
car
cops and claimed
at the guy's
self-defense
window.
because
And all
he
you
said
see
that
is this
guy
guy
shot him.
driving, and he's got the pistol
And the
on his
cops were
lap.
like,
And when the
"No,
car comes up next to him, you see
you
him go
were
like
the
this and flinch
primary
for a second, and
aggressor.
He goes boom, boom,
You
boom, boom,
started
boom, boom, boom.
all of
Starts
that.
throwing shots through his own car,
So,
trying to shoot at that guy.
What's
And
gonna
then
stop
called
that?
the cops and claimed
Gun
self-defense
control,
because
taking
he
the
said
guns
that
away
guy
is not
shot
gonna
at him.
Stop that because you know what?
And the cops
that
were
guy
like,
might be one of
"No.
those people that
You were the
I'm not
primary
turning my stuff in.
aggressor.
I'm not.
You started
This world's
all of
crazy.
that."
I'm not turning my stuff in. Now,
So,
I think he's gotten a record.
what's going to stop
He
that?
might be a prohibited
Gun
possessor
control,
at this
taking
point.
the guns
I don't
away
know.
is not
I
going
don't
to stop
know
that because
how
you know
that
what?
story ended
That
up,
guy
but
might be one of those
neither
people
here
that
nor there.
I'm not turning
They
my
try
stuff
to
in.
push this
I'm not.
gun control legislation.
This world's
in these
crazy.
big
I'm not
cities,
turning my
and
stuff
it
in.
never works.
Now,
it
I
doesn't.
think he's gotten a record.
You look at
He
places
might
like
be a prohibited
Texas.
possessor
You
at
look
this
places
point.
like
I don't
Indiana.
know. I don't know
You have-
how that story ended up.
I don't want
But
to say loose
neither
gun
here nor
laws,
there.
but you have gun laws where
they try to push
everybody
this gun
has
control legislation in these
and
big
it's like,
cities.
okay,
and it never
people are
works.
friendlier
It
to each
doesn't
other because they
work.
know I don't
You look
know
at places
this guy
like
might have a
Texas.
weapon on
You look
him.
at places like
Armed
Indiana.
society is
You
a blank
have
society.
An armed society
I
is
don't
a
want to
very
say
polite
loose
society.
gun laws,
I
but you
agree.
have gun laws
But
where
you look at places like
everybody has one.
California and it's like,
New
okay,
York.
people
I mean,
are
they have some of
friendlier
these
to each other because
strictest
they
gun
know,
laws. And-
I
and
don't know,
Chicago
this guy
in
might have a
particular.
weapon
I can speak
on.
on this because one of my buddies from high
Society is
school.
a polite society.
lived
An
in
armed
Chicago
society is
for
a very
long
polite
time.
society.
He
I agree.
moved up there before.
But
he
you look at
graduated
places
high
like
school.
California,
And he lived
Chicago,
up there for
New
quite
York.
a few years.
I mean, they have some of these
He said
strictest
just
gun
to
laws,
own a
and
firearm.
Chicago in
Just to
particular.
own
I
a
can speak
firearm,
on
you
this
have
because
to
one of my
have
buddies
a-
from
a-
high school
almost like a concealed carry
lived in
license.
Chicago for
But
a
it's not
long
concealed
time. I
carry.
mean, he
It's
moved
just
up
it's
there
called a
before he even
firearm,
graduated
Illinois
high school.
Firearms ownership
And
license or
he
something
lived
like
up there
that.
for quite a few
Like
years.
you
and
have to have a license just to
He said
own
just to own a firearm.
Again,
just to
That
own
is
a
against
firearm,
the
you have to have
Constitution. It's
a almost like a
wondering.
concealed carry license.
but they have
But
such
it's not
strict
concealed
gun laws
carry.
in Chicago.
It's just
and look
it's
at
called a
how
firearm,
crazy
Illinois firearms
crime rate
ownership
is.
license or something
I mean,
like
it's
that.
through the roof.
Like you have to have a license just
I mean,
to
I
own
live in
a
California.
firearm. Again,
And
that is against the Constitution.
That
so what were
in
the
case
gun
anybody's
laws like
wondering.
there in California?
Well,
But they have
It's a
such
little bit
strict
worse
gun laws in
since
Chicago,
I've been
and look at how
Okay.
crazy their
one of the biggest
crime
ones,
rate is.
10-day.
I mean,
cool
it's
down
through
period.
the roof.
Like a waiting
I mean,
period when
I-
you buy
I live
one?
in California.
So you go in there, you fill it all out, and they're
And
like, okay, you
wait
gotta
10
wait
days.
10 days.
So what were the gun laws like
Uh,
there in
that-
California?
You gotta have a bullet button.
Since they
Um,
lived there.
basically.
Okay.
So
One of the biggest ones is 10 days.
so you know how on an AR, right?
Like a
you have
waiting
your
period when you
manuals.
buy one?
Yeah.
So you go in there, you fill it all out, and they're like, okay, you gotta wait 10 days.
California compliant one.
Okay.
that.
Well, one, you
have
can't
a
have
bullet
any more
button.
than 10 rounds.
Um,
A what?
Insane.
Two,
So,
you have to have what's called a bullet
so
button.
the,
It looks just
so you
like
know on an
a-
AR, right?
a,
You have
um,
your
mag release,
Yeah.
but there's a little hole in it
a-
that actually has a button inside
California
that
compliant
releases it.
one.
So the idea
One,
is
you
the
can't
reason
have
they
any
call
more
it a
than
bullet
10
button is because you take the
Um,
tip of a bullet and you stick it in there.
Two, you have,
Undo your
have
thing.
to have what's called a bullet
So
button,
you
which
had
is
to
just like
use something
a-
other than
a,
your finger
Mag
to
release.
attach the
but there's a
magazine.
little hole in it that actually has a button
What is the
inside.
purpose of
that
that?
releases it. So the idea is
It's
the reason
supposed
they call
to
it
stop
bullet
people
buttons
from
is you
reloading
take a
that
tip
that
of the
fast.
bullet, you can stick it in there and undo your thing.
That's funny.
I
I've
knew
never
something
heard of
other
that.
I know
before.
from
Your finger
experience, all you
to
need is
detach the
a
magazine.
little bitty round magnet that fits inside of it.
What
Then
is
you end
the
up with
purpose
a
of that?
magazine release
It's
again?
supposed to stop people from
May or may not have gotten that at
that
a
fast.
gun show.
That's funny.
I'm telling you what,
I've never heard of that
And
before.
they
I know
can
from
sit there and
experience,
cry
I'll use,
gun show loopholes
those
all they
big
want.
magnets.
First off, it's not a loophole. It's called private sales. Private sales are still legal in this country. That being said, there are some things at gun shows that are
I'm
gray
telling you what,
area.
people.
Let's call it gray area.
And they
'cause
can
we're not
sit
sure
there
if
and
it's
cry
legal.
gun show
What they're
loopholes all they
selling
want.
is
First
legal.
off, it's not a loophole.
What
It's
you
called
make
private
it
sales.
to be after
Private
they sell it
sales
to
are
you
still
is up
legal
to
in
you.
this country.
Right.
That being said, there
let's just
are
say
some
as soon
things
as
at
I
gun shows that
got out
are
of California, that bullet button.
gray area.
Oh, yeah,
let's
I
call it
can't
gray
imagine.
area
Placed it
because
right-
we're
as soon
not
as I got
sure
to
if
it,
it's legal.
I
What
could not
they're
get
selling
across
is
the Nevada
legal.
border.
What
quick
you
enough
make it
Yeah.
into
to
be
get that
after
off,
they
and I
sell
bought
it
a
to you
40
is up
round
to
magazine
you.
Just because,
Right.
just for the heck of it.
Welcome to Nevada.
Let's just say
Excuse
as
me,
soon as
honey.
I-
Pull over.
Pretty much.
Oh yeah.
There we
I
go.
can't
Now we're
imagine.
no longer
Please
California
take it right.
compliant.
It's, Nevada's so
I could
weird
not get
because
across
it's
the Nevada border
on one side,
quick
Fast
it's
enough
very
enough,
liberal.
yeah.
to get
Okay.
that off. And
But
I
on the
bought a 40
guns,
round
it's
magazine
very
just because,
conservative.
just
It's
for the
like-
heck of it.
very
Welcome to
pro-gun.
Nevada. Excuse me,
So
honey.
like
Pull
their
over.
other laws are more liberal,
Yeah,
but their gun laws.
There we
are
go.
conservative.
Now we're no
like,
longer
social
California
laws.
compliant.
Yeah, it's
Huh.
More
that's
liberal, so it's
weird
like-
because it's
um,
on one side it's very
I think,
liberal,
Okay.
but on
so
the
like
guns it's very
anything you
conservative.
think of like weed,
It's very pro gun.
So like their other laws are
Sexuality,
more liberal.
Yeah.
any,
But
any
their
of that
gun
stuff
laws
that
are more
Yeah,
conservative.
you're more like your
associate with the more
social laws.
social
Huh.
liberal side.
More liberal. So it's like
Very,
um,
very, very blue, right?
so like
But then you go
using
the gun side is like very red. Like you could literally just go right outside.
sexuality.
There was a BLM land
just any of that,
that you
stuff
can
that
go
you would
right
normally
outside the city.
associate with the more social
and
liberal
just go out
side.
and just
Mhm.
and shoot whatever you want.
very
You could. It's
very
the only
What was it called?
BLM.
but then you go the gun side is like very red. Like you can literally just
BLM
go
is
outside
for
what?
Peru
There's
of
a
land
BLM
management.
land
Okay.
that you can
Yeah.
go right outside.
I'm
the
like,
Sorry,
are
not,
you saying
and-
Black Lives Matter
No,
has
no,
their
no, no,
own
no.
land
No, 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 no.
area? Like,
see-
I
see,
was
this
like,
is
wait a
this is
minute.
how politics
Uh,
destroys terminologies. Anyway,
BLM is
That's why I was
uh,
like, hold on. That's why I was giving you a weird
Okay.
look.
the Bureau of Land Management.
I'm like,
Sorry.
are
not-
you saying Black
So-
Lives Matter has their own
You go
land
back and
area?
understand
Like,
the
I was
See,
like,
this is-
wait a
this is how-
minute.
This is
Wow.
how politics.
That's awesome.
This is the
destroys,
only state that I actually saw where you can go to Walmart.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
That's
no,
why I was
no.
like, hold on.
Really?
That's why I was giving you a weird look.
The brew of
Like
Glen
50
Mansion.
BMG.
Okay.
Most Walmarts don't even
So-
sell guns anymore.
No. Well, they still sell
The one by you in Sanford does, though.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, but this
That's
one,
awesome.
this
That's
is
the
time
only state
even
that I actually
they
saw
sold
where you could go
guns,
to Walmart and buy.
but they
50
sold. You can
caliber
literally buy.
rounds.
Really?
Box
50
50
BMG, I could buy the ammo
Like
there.
50 BMG.
Most Walmarts don't even
So
sell
it's just
guns
a weird, it was a
anymore.
weird mix
Well, they
of
still sold.
The one by
It's a
you
very
in Sanford
purple
does,
state.
though.
yeah,
very, very
so,
purple.
But this one at this time, even
but
they sold guns.
so they didn't
But
really like
they
they,
sold, you could literally.
you had to get a license
If I
for
had
concealed
50
carry, but you
BMG,
didn't have to
I'd
get a
buy
license
it
for
now.
open carry.
Hmm.
So you can open carry all day anytime you wanted.
So it's just
Right.
a weird. It was a weird mix
Um,
of. It was a very purple state.
They didn't really
Very,
like
very
virtually
purple.
every
But
uh,
so they didn't really like they.
gun range
You had to
Like
get a
official gun
license
range?
for concealed carry, but you
had
didn't
full
have to
auto
get a license for
firearms
open carry.
there.
So you
It's
could
like
carry all
every
day,
almost
anytime
all
you
of them.
Right.
So it wasn't. Yeah, it was.
They didn't really.
I never had to
virtually
pay
every.
for. I didn't have to pay for to shoot there at all because either
gun
I
range.
shot at work
Gun range.
because I was a firearms
Had full
instructor,
auto
or I just
firearms
went
there.
out to the desert and
It's like
shot.
every
Yeah.
So I never had to go to a official range.
so it
The only
wasn't-
ones who go to like ranges and pay for it
Yeah, it was.
are tourists.
I never. had
Yeah.
to pay for it.
So
That's funny.
so it's like
Well, that's how Florida used to be. I mean, there's still some people that have land that you can go out and shoot on, but used to be. I mean,
Yeah.
So I never
lots
had
of
to go
people
to
had land and
official
you can
range.
go out
The only
and
ones
just
who go to,
shoot
like, ranges
wherever,
and
you
people
know, as long as
are
you were being
tourists.
responsible
Yeah.
about it.
So
And that's another thing.
So it's
Back,
Well, that's
Back
how
then, you know,
Florida
nobody
used
really
to be. I
cared.
mean, there's still
And
some people that
I'll-
have land that
I'm
you
gonna
can go
say
out and
something
shoot
that's
on.
kind
but
of.
used to be. I mean, lots
I don't
of
know if it's
people had land and you
controversial,
could go
but
out and just
there is
shoot
a law
wherever, you
in
know,
the
as long as
state
you were
of
being
Florida
responsible
that
about
says
it.
that you can
And that's
build
another
a
thing.
gun
Back-
range in
Back
your
then,
own
you know, nobody
backyard.
really cared.
Now there
And
are some stipulations to that.
I'm gonna say something
You can't
that's
do it
kind
within
of.
so many feet of a school or whatever. I think.
I don't know if it's
They just
controversial,
recent-
but
they used to have
there
it
is
to
a
where you
law in the
Know it?
state of
Yeah.
Florida that says
now
that you
actually
can
have to
build
have,
a
like, an acre
gun range in
or
your
more
own backyard.
around it.
Okay.
Now
but
there are
that's
some
because
stipulations to that. You can't
built
do
it
it
and
within
then
so
shot
many feet of a school
beyond
or whatever. I
his thing,
think.
and
I
then
think.
they
just
down.
recent,
Killed somebody.
They used to have it to where
Oh,
you could just
okay. So,
So they kind of
Yeah.
again, that's not
now
something
you
that
actually
is
have,
like
an acre.
Or more.
crazy. Like I disagree
Okay.
with. Okay,
And
if
that was
you
because
have
some idiot
a gun and
built
want to
it
shoot
and
on your
shot.
property,
beyond
Be
his
smart about it.
thing, and it came down.
if you're on a property like mine,
Okay,
So
so
they kinda-
I
Neighbors
that,
all
again,
around
that's
you,
not something
don't
that
be
is
stupid.
like
don't shoot. Go to the gun
crazy.
range. Find
Like I
someone who
disagree
has
with.
land,
Okay, if you
know,
have,
but there is a
a
law
gun
that
and wanna
says you
shoot
do
on
that
your property,
in your own backyard.
be smart about it.
But so
If you
I
have, if you're
think
on a property like mine,
final thoughts on the
with neighbors
the
all
gun
around
control
you,
for me.
don't
I
be stupid.
think
Don't
where
shoot.
we messed up
Go to the gun range.
is where
Find
they
someone
took
who
the
has
guns
land. You
out
know?
of school. And
But
I
there is a
explained
law that says you
before
can do that in
the
your own
keyboard
backyard.
warriors start going nuts.
But
like
so I think
that, my dad used to tell
final
me about
thoughts
how
on
they
the
had, like,
the gun control for me.
classes in
I
school,
think
like safety
where
classes,
we messed
hunter's
up
education
is where
classes.
they took the
I mean,
guns
they got rid
out
of
of
all the good
school.
classes.
And now
They
let me
used to have a shop
explain
class where
before
you could work on
the
vehicles,
keyboard
construction
warriors start
class,
going
you know,
nuts.
Like,
Like
they had
that,
good
my
stuff
dad
back
used to
in
tell
the day,
me
and that
about
was,
how they had like
really
gun
teaching
classes
people
in
good
school,
stuff, like
like
the
safety
generation
classes,
before us,
hunters education classes.
really.
I mean, they got rid of
got
all the
taught
good
some
classes.
good
They used
stuff.
to have a
I
shop
think
class
where
where
they
you could work
messed up
on
is they
vehicles, a
took all of that
construction
stuff
class.
out.
You know, like
and now
they
it's
had
like so
good stuff back in the day, and that
bad.
was like
Like,
really
if you
teaching
had a
people
rifle
good stuff. Like the
in your
generation
back
before us
window of
like,
I have a pickup.
really
Let's say I have a
got
a
taught some
rifle
good stuff.
in
I
the
think
back
where
of my
they messed
nephew.
up
Let's say
is
he
they
takes
took
my truck
all of
to
that
work
stuff
and I have a
out,
rifle in the back.
and now
He's
it's like
gonna get in a
so
lot of trouble.
Oh yeah.
it's bad.
I would probably
like
get in a lot of
if
trouble
you
too,
had a
'cause
rifle
it's my vehicle
in
and
your back
potentially
window
my firearm.
of your, I
So,
have a pickup. Let's say I
I
have
would get in a lot of
a
trouble.
rifle
But
in
that
the,
used
in
to
the
be
back of my nephew.
commonplace
Let's say he
back
takes
then.
my truck
Yeah,
to
they
work
were
and I have a
literally
rifle in the
before
back.
they-
He's gonna get in a
even
lot of
before
trouble.
Our
Oh, yeah.
parents' generation.
I would probably get in a
generation
lot of
before
trouble too,
that,
because it's my
They
vehicle
could
and
literally bring their
potentially
rifle,
my firearm.
leave it at the door.
So I would get in a lot of
take
trouble.
care of their stuff. School,
But that
then
used to
come
be
out and go hunt.
commonplace back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would
Because they would bring their
literally,
rifles
before
with them
they-
as kids. They would walk to school
even before
with their rifles,
our
because
parents'
they didn't go
generation-
hunting afterward.
generation before
Yeah.
that,
and they would just put them in the schoolhouse.
they could literally bring their rifle.
That was before the public school
leave it at the
system.
door,
Well, so
take care of their stuff. School.
well, my
and
dad
come
was
out and
my
come
dad was in the public school
Yeah.
system,
they
and
would bring
he
their rifles with them as
talked
kids, they
about
would
the
walk
very
to
same
school
thing. Like he
with
said
their
that
rifles.
they used to
They
have
would
guns
go
in their
hunting.
vehicles,
And
and
they
nobody
would
would
put them
say
in the
anything,
schoolhouse.
and they would
And
literally
that's before
leave
school
after
system.
school and go straight to hunting.
Well,
Right.
so
You know,
my
I
dad
think
was
that's the
in
problem.
the public school
the
system.
biggest problem
and
is
he
y'all took God out
talked
of
about
everything,
the very same
including
thing. Like he
school.
said that
Took the Pledge of Allegiance
they used to
out
have
of it.
guns in their
Dumb.
vehicles and nobody
you
would say
took gun
anything,
safety
and
courses.
they would
If we taught gun
literally leave
safety
after
courses
school
in
and go
high
straight to
school or
hunting.
in a grade
know?
before they,
I
like,
think
make
that's
it a
the problem.
requirement before you
The
graduate.
biggest problem
gun
is
safety,
y'all
because
took
there
God
are
out of
some
everything,
people
including
you put that in their
schools.
hands
You took
and
the
they're
Pledge
gonna
of Allegiance
freak
out of
out,
it.
or they're gonna
Dumb.
go to shoot it and,
And
like,
you took gun safety
know,
courses. If we taught gun
you know,
safety
right.
courses
they're
in high
flinching.
school
They're
or
afraid
in
of
a
it.
grade before they
I
like
think when
make
you
it a
take the
requirement before
curiosity
you
out
graduate
of it
gun safety,
and
because there
you
are
teach
some
them
people
the right
you
way
put that
on
in their
how to
hands and they're
handle a
gonna
firearm,
freak out or
it
they're
takes
gonna go
all
to
the
shoot
fear
it and
out of
like
all of it.
you know
Because you realize
Almost.
this
You
gun's
know,
been sitting here this
they're
whole time.
flinching.
Actually,
They're
things been
afraid
sitting here
of
for
it.
a week now,
I think when you
and it hasn't
take
done
the
nothing.
curiosity
It's just
out
sat
of it
there.
and
The thing
you
is,
teach them the right way on how to handle
there
a
are
firearm,
some people who
it takes all the
think
fear out
always-
of
they'll
all
always
of
be
it.
afraid of it.
Because you
But I
realize
think a lot of that
this gun's
comes
been
from-
sitting here this whole
well, some
time.
people,
Actually, I think it's
They
been
don't
sitting
know
here
what to
for a
do
week
with
now,
the loudness and
and it hasn't done
the
nothing.
recoil and
It's
all that
just
stuff.
sat there.
It just scares
The
them.
thing
through.
is,
It's one of those
now there
like being
are
afraid of
some
heights.
people
Mm-hmm.
It's an irrational
who
fear.
they're always.
It's
be
just a
afraid
fear
of
that they deal
Yeah.
with,
it.
right?
But I think
Sure.
a lot of that comes
Um,
from
But
some people,
most
they-
people, like you said,
they don't know
once
what to
they
do with
shoot
the
it, they're
whole-
like,
the
oh.
loudness and
Like I've had
the
people
recoil
where
and
they're
all that stuff.
terrified of
It just scares them.
all the way up to the point where they shoot.
It's
And
one
once
of
they
those,
shoot, they're like,
being
this is
afraid of
pretty
heights.
cool.
Mhm.
And
It's an
now then they
irrational
just
fear.
start.
It's just a fear.
I've
that
had
they
one
live with.
person. There's
Sure.
a couple people where
But most people, like you said,
they'll be shooting,
once they shoot it,
and
they're like, oh,
the person you
Like,
think
I've
is
had
going to be
people where
cool with the
they're
guns, like
terrified
neither of them shot.
all the way up to the,
The
point
person
where
who's
they
like,
shoot.
yeah, I'm really excited.
Once they shoot, they're like,
They end up hating
this is
it.
pretty cool.
And the other person who's
Now
scared to
then they
death
just start-
Mhm.
ends up loving it and ended up
I've
shooting
had
all
one
the
person-
stuff
there's a
that
couple
extra
people
ammo
where,
that they didn't want to shoot.
Hmm.
So
They'll be shooting,
sometimes you just don't
and
know about
the
how,
person
how
you think
people are
was
going to
gonna be
process
cool with the guns, like they
firing
neither of them
weapons,
shot.
right?
Right.
The person who's
One
like, yeah,
lady-
I'm really excited.
She had
They end
nothing
up
against
hating it.
guns,
And the other person who's scared to death.
but after the
ends
first
up
couple
loving it
shots,
and
she
ends up
was
shooting all
done
the stuff that extra ammo that they didn't
because
want
in
to shoot.
her mind,
So it.
I don't know
sometimes
what,
you
like,
just
what
don't
kind of,
know about how people
person
are
she
gonna
is
process,
or what like her personality
firing
or
a
whatever.
weapon,
I don't
right?
know really
Right.
One lady,
what was driving
she had nothing against
this
guns.
What her
idea,
views are.
what
on
her
guns.
views.
But after the
But
first couple shots, she was done.
her problem was she felt like
Because
she was
in her
given too much
mind,
power.
I don't know
It was
what like
weird.
You told me about
Yeah,
this.
it was the weirdest one I've ever dealt with.
Whatever. I don't know
'Cause
really
It's like,
what
what do
was
you do with someone who
driving
doesn't want
this.
What her
idea.
views are on the
She
guns.
put the gun down
But
because she said it. She
she-
felt like
her
it gave her
problem
too
was
much
she felt
power.
like she
too much
Right.
power,
Too
right?
much
Too much
power.
power. And
goodness.
it
You
was like
told me about
Yeah,
that.
it's- it was the
I would
weirdest
I
one
would
I've
say
ever
it gives you
dealt with
the right amount of power.
because
Just
power,
the right amount.
The power
Doesn't
to
want-
the equalizer. It's
Right.
an equalizer.
She
Yeah.
put the gun down because
Um,
she said it. She felt like it gave her
The
too
only
much
time
power,
it ever
right?
gives someone
Right.
too much power
My
is
goodness.
if
and it was
a
like,
tyrant is using it.
it doesn't really.
Against
I would
the
say it gives you the right amount of power.
But
Just
power
the right
to-
amount.
Power to the equalizer.
it's
Right.
equalized.
It is the
Yeah.
great
So
equalizer.
now he can't have too much power.
The only
Because
time
the
it
power
ever
is
gives
also
someone
within the
too
people.
much power
Right.
That's
is
the whole
if
point of the Second
a
Amendment.
tyrant is using
A
it
well-regulated militia
against their people.
being necessary to the security of a
But-
free state.
If the
And the
people
militia
militia
of the
does
people.
not mean
Yeah.
the
it's
army.
equalized.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
No,
So
no,
now
no,
you can't
definitely
have too
not.
much power.
We should discuss that
Because
at
the
some
power
point.
is also
Next
within
one.
the
Next
people.
one, we should
Right.
discuss
That's the whole point of
the militia back
A
then
well-regulated
Right. Right.
versus what people think of a
Be
militia
necessary
and the
to
term
security of a
well
free
regulated
state.
and all
And
that
the
stuff.
militia
Right.
does not
versus
mean
what it actually
Yeah.
the army.
Okay.
Sorry.
No,
Continue.
no,
What?
no,
Like I said
We
before, I
should
wrote a
discuss
whole
that
book on
at
that
some point.
stuff.
The next one.
Yeah.
The next one we should discuss
Well,
the militia.
I think that's all the time we have. We've
Right.
gone
versus
pretty
what
good,
people think of a
you know,
militia.
a little bit
and the
now.
term
So,
well regulated.
ladies and gentlemen,
now versus what it actually.
here's the deal:
Okay.
gun control has
What?
never been
Like I
about
said
guns.
before, I
It's
wrote
always
about
been about
that
control,
stuff, so.
no
Yeah.
matter which way you slice
Well-
it. So,
I think that's all the time we have. We've
Thank
gone
you for
pretty
joining
good.
us on Arms
a little bit
Room
now,
15
so.
podcast. Man,
Ladies
I'm
and
gonna get
gentlemen,
that right eventually.
It's
Here's our podcast, and I'm
Gun
getting it
control
wrong.
Right.
has never
All right.
been about
Well,
the
any
guns.
final words
It's
of
always
wisdom?
been about
I
control.
feel like this is going to be a part
no matter
two.
which way you
Part
slice
two?
it.
I feel like
So
To be continued.
that's all we have for today.
Later.
Thank you for joining us on Arms Room 15 podcast. Man, I'm gonna get that right eventually. It's our podcast, and I'm getting it wrong.
Right.
All right. Well, any final words of wisdom?
I feel like this is going to be a part two to this.
A part two
I feel like it.
to be continued.
Laters.